So we have blue-white Magecraft here. We have a few different Magecraft payoffs here. We've got Clever Lumimancer, which it's 2/2 whenever you cast a spell. We've got Leonin Lightscribe, which gives everything +1/+1 when you cast a spell. And we've got Clarion Spirit, which, while not quite technically Magecraft, rewards you for playing 2 spells in a turn. And we've got some Stormwing Entity here, which has Prowess, which is like the boomer version of Magecraft for people that are new to Magic. This deck would give a significant amount of things to have access to Monastery Mentor. Excited to get that one eventually, but for now we don't have it. We've got some excellent cantrips like Brainstorm and Opt to kind of power us through triggering our Magecraft stuff. We've got Defiant Strike. It's worth noting that we've got Sea Gate Stormcaller here to copy things up. And the one big difference between Prowess and Magecraft is Magecraft does trigger when you copy a spell as well, which is great. Yeah, we've got a couple copies of Ephemerate here, which this card is very, very sweet with Sea Gate Stormcaller because this is an enter the battlefield effect. Mole in the hole, thanks for the Prime support. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this. One thing to note about this is our deck has basically no interaction in the main deck, so we are 100% on the race you plan game 1. So I'm interested to see if this deck as constructed can race appropriately in this format, or if we perhaps need a touch of interaction. The sideboard's got a good bit of interaction here, good selection of different interactive cards, so we've got some options post-board, but I'm interested to see if the game 1 race with our blue-white prowess, blue-white Magecraft is good enough. Did people asking about Luris? Sure. Is it better? I have no idea. So again, for people that are new to the channel, this is a deck that a viewer has sent in. I'm playing it card for card to start, and something like, do we want to play Luris, is a question that we could maybe want. So someone's talking about counter spells and stuff like that. Something that's worth noting is because we are a Magecraft or Prowess deck, this is a deck that those are cards that reward you for playing your cards out proactively, which means that reactive cards like counter spells, generally speaking, aren't what this deck is looking to do specifically. Our mana's a touch awkward here. We don't really have a play till turn 3. I think I'm going to mulligan this. It could be right to keep that, though. Seems fine. We have Lightscribe on 2, most likely. I'll bottom up Brainstorm, and we'll get to Opt on 1. Their best sets to buy Historic. If you already have a good amount of STX and you're content with the amount of Mystical Archives that you have, sets that have Shocklands are probably the best. If you already have all 40 Shocklands, after that, it's probably the sets with Pathways, Kaldheim and stuff like that. Alright, so we're dead. I think we're dead. Brainstorm is so powerful it ended the game. And this is honestly one of the worst land draws, one of the worst opt draws in the deck, because it's a draw that makes me keep playing the game, but we probably can't win. So this isn't like a, well, that's fine, we'll concede. It's like a, well, it's just good enough that we'll keep hanging on. Basket and RQ, thanks for the follows. Why Opt and then Brainstorm instead of the other way around? Doesn't Brainstorm see more cards? Yeah, but Brainstorm locks you in to keeping the cards that you got on top of your deck. So if your goal is to hit a land drop, you want to Opt and then Brainstorm, because that gives you the best chance to hit a land drop. Because if I Brainstorm and miss on the land, I put 2 cards back, and then I'm opting into the 2 cards I put back with Brainstorm. Whereas if I opt and miss, I then get to Brainstorm and see 3 new cards. So while Brainstorm sees more cards immediately, Opt and then Brainstorm sees more cards over the course of the 2 turns. I kept both Opt and Brainstorm in my opening hand. It is almost never right to cast this card on the first turn of the game. Whereas Opt, it's generally correct to cast it on the first turn of the game. Might just click submit here, honestly. Just try and be, I'm gonna try and be linear on the play. And while there's obviously edge cases, I try to use words like generally when I say you should never brainstorm on one. Because obviously there's edge cases where that could be correct to do, but generically you should not do it. I think I might wait to play this so I can get the Clarion Spirit triggered. It honestly might have been right to bottom the Brainstorm, keep the third land. Alright, we're fucking dead. Remember when I commented on our deck not being interactive? Alright, I probably should have boarded in the couple of copies of Deck in Stone, but still. The Thalia Archon of Ephemerate deck's probably a pretty unwinnable matchup for us in general. I always heard players in Legacy say you never end step at Brainstorm. Is that because you Brainstorm lock yourself or something more likely to it that I'm missing? Well, so if you can cast a Brainstorm at the end step, that also means you can cast a Brainstorm during your next turn. And if you wait to cast the Brainstorm during your next turn, you give yourself more options when you resolve what cards you're putting back with the Brainstorm. Generically speaking, the only time it's correct to end step Brainstorm, if you can't shuffle immediately after or clear it in some way, is if you need a specific card next turn and you're not going to have enough mana to both Brainstorm and cast the specific card you're looking for the next turn. Brainstorm is a card that's very different from other cantrips in that most cantrips you want to cast them as soon as possible to get sculpting, whereas Brainstorm there's a lot of specific conditions around it that allow you to minimize and maximize extra percentage points the card kicks out for you. Well, if you're trying to ensure that you're going to make land drops, you shouldn't be end step brainstorming. You should be taking a draw step and then drawing additional cards the following turn. So if your goal is hitting land drops, end step brainstorming is like objectively incorrect, generally speaking. Because if you cast a brainstorm at end of turn to try and hit your second land drop, you're seeing 3 cards versus 4 cards if you wait to brainstorm on turn 2. Because you get a draw step as well. Because if you brainstorm at end step and then miss, you're redrawing one of those cards that you know is a brick. Maximizing information before you make decisions is a big thing for inching your play forward. Yes, definitely. Goodbye, lands. Shrek turns 20 today. Why would you come in here and hurt me like that? What did I do to you, Milbot? What did I do that you felt the need to hurt me this way? So far, it's feeling like our deck is a little bit slow and fair. Well, we're in for Clarion Spirit. And we could just never beat Luris plus Myers Grasp, right? Fight as one doesn't seem particularly good here. I'm gonna bring in the Dex and the Skyclaves. It's a rest in peace matchup. I'm pretty sure 1990 was 10 years ago. I'm also sure the pandemic started 3 years ago, and I also don't think I understand time. God bless. Clever Lumimancer actually seems pretty bad here, right? We're almost never going to be able to attack through with this. Actually, Selfless Savior is probably the cut, right? They don't really have actual removal that that's protecting us from. Hell, even one of these is a cheap spell. We can block occasionally with this. Adrian, thanks for the follow. I plan on playing the new Nier game on stream. Yeah, at some point. I usually try not to play games right when they release because in this year, 2021, believe it or not, most game companies don't release video games when they're ready. So usually I like to wait for reviews to come in and for the developers to release a patch or two. Like, I own Cyberpunk 2077, but that game's probably not getting played until at least 2076 when they've had time to patch it. Like I loved playing Witcher 3. It's one of my top games of all time. But, like, I didn't play it until this year. I played Borderlands 3. I have not. I played the original Borderlands back in the day. Huh? You know what? I kind of think I'm in for all of these cards, huh? Gonna deck the hall with balls of Spirit Dancer here. Witcher 3 is great. It's in my top 3 games of all time. Very, very good. Well, we got to see our linear game plan go to work here this game. This was a turn 5 kill, kind of slow. Turn 5 linear kills kind of slow for this format. We were interactive there. Like, I wonder if, like, maybe we just want a bunch of Skyclave Apparitions main deck in this deck. I have a copy of Cyberpunk for the PlayStation, and I plan to probably poke into Cyberpunk on stream when they release the PS5 specific version, because I assume it's going to be a little bit before they do that, and by the time they get to that, they should have their ducks in a row, hopefully. Yeah, Skyclave's at its best when your opponent wants to kill threats that you have that aren't Skyclave. I'm gonna open on this, and then hopefully we can brainstorm into second blue source cast Stormwing next turn. Well, yeah, like, that's a bug, for example, Conqueror. So, there was a bug in their streamer-friendly version that still played DCMA content. So, like, if I wanted to stream it at release, I'd have to turn off all the audio settings. So, bugs like that, for example, are ones that frequently get ironed out as you have more things. Okay, so, what am I bottoming here? I don't think I have time for 2 of these. I don't think I have time for this either, do I? I think we do this turn. And then next turn we could do like this. I wanna basically try and get set up so I like make a couple of tokens, then I get to trigger this. Just doing these right away, because I don't want to forget to do it. This card gives them an activation where you can tap them every turn. I mean, like, 65 hours is an incredible amount of playtime. My first playthrough of Witcher 3 was fast, and it was only about 60 hours. I did both DLCs. There's, if you scroll down a little bit on my YouTube channel front page, underneath the Magic stuff, there's a group of playlists that have all of the variety games I've done start to finish. Oh. I think I'm leaving this back as a jump blocker. People said prison decks don't exist. Heliod is punishing us, Chip. All right. So far, not looking too impressive. And this is something I've talked about when it comes to this format, is if you're gonna brew in Historic, you basically have to ask yourself, you have to do one of two things. If your deck's going to be like this deck, if your deck's going to be like this deck, where we don't have any interaction in our main deck, your deck needs to Goldfish a turn 4 kill consistently. Ideally, your Nut Draw should be killing them on the 3rd turn. If your deck cannot Goldfish turn 3 and turn 4 kills, your deck needs to be interactive. And it's fine. There are plenty of decks that are good and competitive in this format that don't Goldfish a turn 4 kill. But if you're not Goldfishing a turn 4 kill, you can't have 0 interaction in your main deck. For people that are new to card games, what Goldfish means is basically you should sit there and play your deck with no opponent, and your deck should be able to reduce the opponent's life to 0 by the 4th turn of the game, assuming they do nothing and leave you alone. The Sparky count is still up, but honestly, Sparky's a great way to test. You want to sit there and Goldfish, figure out what's going on. I think this is worse than a random. I think we just play this to trigger Clarion Spirit here. And like this game's another good example, right? Like this is our 3rd turn, so like thinking about next turn, are we anywhere close to being able to kill the opponent? We're not, right? Sparky has killed me several times. Have been playing Grixis. Ow. Here's any reason to Brainstorm here, right? Let's read. Our Ephemerate's not going to do anything this turn. Yes, I guess it technically counts as our first spell, but no value out of it, so to speak. Throw the lands back and then Stormwing. Hold up Ephemerate / fight as one. Our deck is very close to a standard deck. No, having better mana is a big deal. Okay. That one. I'm only here for the angry rants. It's going on forever. Good morning, good morning. Okay. So it's definitely a Decade Stone Skyclave Apparition matchup again. Again, our opponent not really playing things that deal damage to our stuff, so Selfless Savior seems kind of mediocre. I want some copies of Reidane, because they're a collected company deck. Also just like an evasive flying threat. Red 1. Finest 1 isn't super exciting. Nah, I don't play EDH. Magic's too expensive for me to play casually. You see this giant wall of board games behind me? For the price of one dual land, you can buy an entire shelf worth of games up there. Hell, you might be able to buy half the actual shelving unit of games for the price of one dual land. And I'm not the type of person that like I min-max even in casual games too, so well, Jeff just built a casual deck without the dual lands. It's like, nah, I'd rather just not. Yeah, Dice Throne's great. We play a bunch of Dice Throne with the kids too. Dice Throne is great. And another thing too, and this goes back to not the pricing on it, but it's really difficult to balance EDH between groups of people. Like, you basically have to have like a high council's worth of people all come together and decide how you're gonna balance and like what power levels are okay and what power levels aren't. Whereas, like, if I pick up something like Dice Throne or a board game, I just, like, know that that's been played together and that it's balanced with each other, right? Oh my god, this puts my lands into play tap, too. We could just never win. LTO cast, thanks for the follow. This is pretty peak Magic. Is we queue up with this sweet Magecraft deck and we queue into the Thalia Archon of Ephemerate deck twice in 3 matches. There goes our deck in stone. What is Dice Throne? Dice Throne is a card battle game similar to Magic that's all self-contained. It's like 10 or 15 bucks to buy one of the characters that's all self-contained. And the actual gameplay is kind of like Magic meets Yahtzee. Each character has 5 dice, and how you roll the dice over the series of the turn dictate which attacks you make, and then you get to like make percentage plays over the course of your rolls, like which of the attacks you're going to work towards, and then you have cards in a hand that you play out that like influence what your rolls do. You can tip dice up and down, stuff like that. Very, very fun casual game. Yeah, it's great. And it's like $80 for like the entire box set that like has all the characters in it or something like that. I don't know. My wife buys the board game, so my prices might be wrong, but it's much cheaper than Magic. Like if you want a casual Magic type experience without the Magic price tag, it's a great choice. So I'm not going to get to Pod Bomb today because I didn't get a chance to build that deck last night. I'm probably going to get to the Lurrus deck today, though. Everything's cheaper than Magic. That's not really true. I've not done the Dice Throne campaign yet, no. Favorite board games? I have this screenshot is still mostly true. It's old, but it's still mostly true. I should take an updated picture at some point, so when I reference it, it's accurate. The way you describe Dice Throne does not make it sound casual. I mean, anything could be a try-hard game. Casual is about the mindset and the price tag. Anything's competitive if you try hard enough, chat. That list of games is the last time I played games with people other than my wife and people who read at a first grade level. I think I want a second blue source here. So that way if I draw a cantrip, I can like double this. King Domino is probably the #1 favorite in my house that all 4 of us play together. The boys actually both like Dice Throne too. We played that with them also. Deck the halls with balls of Skyclave here. Wants me get an attack in for 3 this turn. You were close, Chiller. You started stealing my Muggle lingo. You don't need help, that's perfect. Really? Jacob is 7 and Declan is almost 6. I think we just deck the halls here, right? What do I want to deck with the second copy? Is it Goose? It's probably Elf, right? It could be Goose. Is it Goose or Maverick, chat? I think it's the Elf. Well, oh, right, the Goose. These are, I was thinking they had a food. Yeah, they totally used the food from the Goose already, right? Yeah, it's definitely the Elf. Top Gun reference? Of course that was a Top Gun reference. It's the average age of chat. According to YouTube, my average audience is between the ages of 25 and 34. Top Gun. Top Gun predates a few of them. Top Gun predates me. So I want to put Stormwing Entity into play here anyways, so let's just go ahead and crunch through. I'm really not into this. I'm into the Defiant Strike, though. Old enough to pay taxes, young enough to never afford a house. Ah, millennials. So the format's just a lot less creature-based in general, Flight Forward. Like, if you look at, like, I compared Baleful Mastery to things like, Bloodchief's Thirst. And, like, that, we haven't really been playing many, like, black removal-based decks. Like, if you look at, like, Dead Guy Ale, for example, I wasn't playing any black spot removal in it. Cyanide, thanks for 31 months. Welcome back. How come the norm seems to be 14 lands in Legacy? Because Ponder's a messed up card. Ponder lets you see. Ponder's one of the best cantrips ever printed, chat. Is it the best? Is Ponder the best? Like in a vacuum, I think Ponder's probably better than Brainstorm. Just like has no conditions, lets you see 4 cards. Recall's not a cantrip. Recall's card advantage. No, cantrips draw a single card. I played Baleful Mastery and Grixis Control. Yeah, probably. In some amount. Alright, well, this hand has some options, so I think we keep it. Ponder is in none of these Reanimator decks. I mean, I haven't looked at Legacy in a long time, but when I played Reanimator, it definitely played 4 Ponders. No, Ponder's definitely better than Preordain. Preordain's close, though. I'd put Preordain over Brainstorm, too, generically. Like, I think, no joke, if Ponder and Preordain were legal in this format that we're playing right now, historic, Brainstorm wouldn't see much play. Both Ponder and Preordain are better than Brainstorm generically in this format without fetch lands. McGrim, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Into the channel. Ooh, yeah, Probe's a good one. Phyrexian mana cards kind of a block over them in my mind, but you're right, they're real messed up. If Ponder or Preordain was legal in this format, the decks that don't have cards that they don't want to draw would definitely play those instead. Well, we hit the second land at least. I guess I should hide the Clarion Spirit so it doesn't get Thoughtseize next turn. Yeah, the decks that have cards that they actually don't want to draw are like something like Citadel, where you get rewarded for putting specific cards back on top of your deck. They're definitely at their best. But it also missing land drops here, so maybe we have a chance. They have another Blood Chief's Thirst, we're gonna be in trouble though. We get to untap with this, we should be in a pretty good spot. Nice. Hey, thanks for the tip, Flight Forward. It's very generous of you. Grixis control with some 4-mana Nicol Bolas. If you haven't seen Grixis get beat up, I haven't seen Grixis get beat up recently, and I need a reminder. Yeah, that sounds great. To set an incredibly low bar, I think Crux of Fate makes Grixis better than it previously was. I think we open on Defiant Strike, so we get 4 chances to draw a land here. Yikes. I mean, to be fair, this deck that we're playing has an incredibly low land count, chat. So, like, while we're definitely getting, like, a touch unlucky, part of what's happening here is definitely related to the fact of how this deck's chosen to be built. Like, our deck's only playing 19 lands in it, and, like, we don't have ways to clear these Brainstorms. Like, I don't know that the cantrips in this format are powerful enough to, like, keep us with this low of a land count in a deck like this. So far, we've boarded in Skyclave and Deckenstone in basically every game we've played. Yeah, most of the decks we're playing after the set release are viewer submissions sites here. I don't know if you need to cut Brainstorms, but adding lands is probably a decent idea. We'll go up 1 or 2 after this game. Adding a color to improve consistency, generally speaking, is not a good game plan. I also kind of feel like, Clarion Spirit's one of our better threats, and it feels weird that we're only playing 3 of them. Potato Donut, thanks for the follow, welcome to the channel. Besides Rogues, Black-White Auras. Rogues and Black-White Auras are the only decks I feel comfortable definitively saying are great right now. Oh, Gruul, I'll give you those 3. Gruul, Auras, and Rogues would be my top 3 picks for the format. What did Gruul get from the new set? Actual nothing. Gruul got Embercleave. Yeah, no joke. Gruul got opponents moping around doing a whole lot of nothing is a real thing. I think I'm just like looking for a Brainstorm. A cantrip of some point. Opponent looks to be doing a whole lot of nothing. We can beat a whole lot of nothing. I think I had a lot of my success last week with people not playing enough lands. That's true. People, as someone who is about to add lands to this viewer submission, the #1 sin people make when building Magic decks is not putting enough lands in them. Well, shit. That game was a lot better when the opponent was doing nothing. Big agree. What deck did I hit Diamond with? Some random historic decks off stream last night. We won a good bit with Winona this morning, though. I'm gonna go up a 20th land. I'm gonna cut the fight as one. Yeah, there are cantrips we can play. Rudolph, thanks for the follow. There aren't really, right? I guess we could, like, technically play something like Witching Well. Want another Clarion Spirit? I feel like I just want another card that draws a card. There are 2 mana options. Now, we don't really have enough evasive threats for something like Curiosity. Yeah, Chart a Course could be the droid we're looking for. The awkward part about Chart a Course is that you want to play your spells pre-combat here, so you're never going to get... We could play Think twice. I don't hate Think twice. Is that reasonable? I feel like it's not. Let's try a couple of those. When I went up 1 land and I added 2 cantrips. Enchantments don't trigger Magecraft. Yeah, they do. Magecraft is non... Oh, it's only instant sorcery. You're right. Good call. Prowess is non-creature. You're right. I think I'm supposed to wait a turn on this since I have the Ephemerate. Master Beardsman, thank you for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I'd love to give some feedback on your deck. You should pop on into the subs Discord server. Always take a peek at things people are posted in there. Hey, thanks for taking a second to do that, Master Beardsman. I wouldn't be here without folks like you dropping off their prime. It's like over half of my subs in a given month. I think I just go ahead and hold up Ephemerate here. I guess I was technically supposed to target this, so they were both 4-power things. Yeah, we're not really a storm deck, though, Vantrix. Not a storm deck, eh, Jeff? Why are you playing Sea Gate Stormcaller then, Jeff? Fortunate bricks. Well, here we are. We aren't excited about it, but this is where we're at with our lives, chat. This kicks for 7. Stormwing Entity, eh? Hoagland's a phony. He's a big fat phony. Hey, well to go. Thanks for the 2/3 sphere. Welcome back. We're basically Storm Tribal. Yeah, basically. We're just like looking for any 1-mana cantrip here. No, you'll still have your previous sub time, Elliot. Like, if I click on your name, it says you were previously subbed for 13 months. No, yeah, that's definitely what we're doing. We're doing this and attacking. I'll punch them in the face. Yeah, I want to hold land in case we draw a Brainstorm, too. Man, it's a shame we don't have another 1-mana cantrip, huh? We would just, like, destroy them here. They'd be dead. Hopefully they're still dead next turn regardless. Yes, this is a really sweet card. I've got a Marduk Pyromancer build with this card in it. I'm interested to see how that feels. So they get to Fatal Push my boy here, but I have Selfless Savior. If you're interested in seeing my copy of Marduk Pyromancer, it's in the deck queue on my website. I feel like this is probably a Clever Lumimancer out matchup. They have a lot of Dorkos that block on the ground. Maybe Defiant Strike comes out because they're going to be killing our stuff in response to us targeting it. Or if this puts us slightly too low and ways to trigger our things, and we go 3-2 here. Waiting. Good morning, must be that Max. As opposed to that other Max. Don't mulligan against the Thoughtseize deck, Chad. If your hands has lands and spells, you should keep it. On the deck spend today. Standard Winota was powerful. This deck's felt kind of middling. If it's some matchups that are probably not ideal too. The next two will be just normal Historic, V Kyle. While Historic is still settling and being figured out, we're gonna lean into that. We'll probably do the no bans event right before rotation happens, is my plan. They're a priest deck. It's interesting. Come on, can I get a cantrip to go with Stormwing, please? One Brainstorm, please. I guess that technically counts. How would no bans work on Arena? You just get to play with all cards that exist on the Arena platform. Hey, Elliot, thanks for 13 months. Welcome back. One of your finest brainstorms, please, deck. We're bottoming the Sea Gate. We'll draw the Opt, and the next turn we'll go Leonin into Opt. We just want to, like, find more cards that trigger Prowess and Magecraft from here. That's aggressive. So I actually completely disagree with you, Lance. It's actually not trivial mathematically to splash in this format. Splashing in this format comes at a real cost, and that's one of the things that's very different about this format compared to a lot of other non-rotating formats, is that splashing isn't free. I agree, it does. It's one of the things that makes this format better than a lot of the other non-rotating formats out there, in my opinion, is the fact that splashing is difficult. It's a good thing. Oh, I should have attacked with this too, probably. The Mana Math article does... Who tiny it? Alright, that is the right article. Can a mod get rid of that tiny URL? I really don't like URL shorteners for stuff like that. It makes it look spammy and bad. I'm gonna draw a couple more spells this game. The other thing that you need to understand is that when doing mana math, especially in a deck like this one that we're playing, it's not just as simple as, okay, I hit the colored pips that are listed in the Mana Math article. You also have to have the consideration of, okay, how often are my lands coming into play tapped versus untapped on average? It's a very, very real consideration you have to make. Mr. P, thanks for the 2.5 years. Elliot, welcome back. After playing Standard for a long time, I'm switching to Historic, so I'd like a build around for my favorite card, Command the Dreadhorde. Alright, I can give that one a try, but I'm going to give you a fair warning that I think there's a good chance that card's not playable. It's a big, like, six mana is a lot in this format for a card that doesn't deterministically win the game. No, I don't even think that's a best of one thing. It's not even a best of one style thing. Play it with Mizzix Mastery? Well, that's the thing, you can't, it's not even, you have to like fill your graveyard up and stuff too. Like, the way Command the Dreadhorde works as a playable card is usually, it like has to do with, like generating value as games go along. I mean, to be fair, the way the deck probably gets built, you're probably pretty okay against Skrull. For another Skyclave next turn. I think I'm declining this, right? I don't really want to scry. Oh, if I would have played my land first, I could have used Think Twice as well. Here, I missed a damage. That's fine. It lets me keep this hidden on top. I did not, Gerd. Would I rather exile Luris, or would I rather exile Pyromancer? I might just be taking Pyro, right? And I think I was going to pump the brakes for a turn here. Play defense with this. Sure. No, just good fair tempo. Think twice, looking good at giving Sea Gate Stormcaller value as the game goes a little bit long here. I see how many ladder points have we lost playing it. Wow! I am shocked and hurt, and not that many. Although we're about to lose a couple more, right? Because they get to sack Archfiend's Vessel here, and then they get to lure us it back and make a 5/5. A decent Brainstorm can get us back in the game next turn. Brainstorm with the Fabled Passage could give us 3 new cards. Waiting on that Brainstorm. We've already used 2 Brainstorms. Yikes. Hey, Chase, thanks for sending your sub. Welcome back. Hey-oh. I say hey-oh. Brainstorm, come gonna draw some spells. Alright. Spells! Spells, you say? Alright, I think I'm going to wrap up on this one. I feel like I have the feedback I have to give. This archetype, as constructed, feels to me like it just kind of doesn't work. I feel like if I wanted to be this kind of Magecrafty Leonin Lightscribe deck, I would want to be one that goes a little bit bigger, as opposed to trying to get underneath things. I think Brazen Borrower is a good suggestion. Yeah, I think my base feelings would be I would cut these 1-drops and I would play Skyclave Apparition and maybe Brazen Borrower is a good choice, but some other just interactive pieces in the main deck. I think I'd rather be a deck that goes a little bit bigger, because the aggressive game plan that this deck was trying to execute did not feel consistent enough to get under other people in the format and not be able to be interactive. So yeah, there's like, I feel like I'd rather just be like more of a slightly bigger blue-white tempo deck. Yeah, you could play Elite Spellbinder, you could play Skyclave, you could play Brazen Bar, there's a lot of choices, but I feel like if I wanted to lean into these cards, I would want to do it by being a little bit bigger, as opposed to like building my deck in a way that's like trying to be low to the ground and linear when I can't be linear consistently, because I don't have a lot of cheap 1 mana payoffs. So I felt like the games that we were winning were the ones that we were boarding into this kind of interactive plan because we couldn't linear consistently. So that would be the direction I would want to be going. I don't know, so like it cuts hard in both directions, right? Like you're like, all right, only play 16 instant sorceries, so that's wrong, but like, okay, well, we also are suggesting we add other cards to the deck, so like there's some kind of give and take there too, right? And like adventure creatures can like smooth that difference a little bit. Maybe if you're putting in more threats, Sea Gate Stormcaller has to be the card that goes because we're giving up other things. You can add more Ephemerates, you have more into the battlefield effects. So like this here, we played more than 16 instant sorceries, the deck that we just got done with. I ended up editing and changing things, and this isn't a final deck list that I would play. I don't have a good idea of what the final deck list would be like. I think you need to try it in a couple different directions and try and figure it out. There's also a chance that just like isn't very competitive, and you'd rather be a young Pyromancer deck that gains access to Lightning Helix, you know, some stuff like that. But the core idea of what was going on here really didn't feel like it worked particularly well.